Welcome to the Legalpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Sager, and I'm dedicated to covering common legal issues for small business owners and just how some of the world's most elite entrepreneurs have handled legal issues themselves. In true attorney fashion, the information in this episode is not legal advice. This is for informational purposes only, and you should always consult with your attorney before implementing any of the information. Now, on to the show. Hey everybody, I am so excited for today's episode because we have another attorney on the show today, and this is something that I need for myself. It is something that all business owners need, and I know that you're probably tired of people harping on do this, you need to get this done in your business, but I am also here telling you, this is something that you have to get done because as an individual, you need to make sure that you have a life plan. What happens if you die? But even as a business owner, it's just that much more important. My guest today is going to explain all those reasons and tell you exactly what you need. So to make sure, if something happens where you are mentally incapacitated, did I say that right?
Yeah, incapacitated. Yeah.
If you are mentally incapacitated or if you pass away, what the heck is going to happen to your business? And there's a lot of considerations. And luckily, I have Ella Gentile, who is an attorney in California and Florida, who is going to help explain all of this, tell you exactly what you need to get done, and hopefully get all of us, not even just protected, but our future protected as well. So thanks for being here, Ella.
Thank you for having me. I really look up to all that you offer for your clients, and I appreciate you letting them know about this as well.
Oh, thank you. Yes, of course. No, it's something that I've been actually wanting to cover for quite a while on the podcast, so I'm glad that we're able to finally connect. So let's go ahead and get started. Tell everybody, your background, how long have you been practicing, where did you go to law school?
Hi, everybody. Yes, my name is Ella Gentile. I am a practicing attorney. I do wills and trusts and probate. And I went to undergrad at UCLA, and then I went to law school at Florida State. So I tell people that it was obviously going to be a bi-coastal practice. So I practice in California and Florida. We represent clients in both these states. Oftentimes, clients have assets in both states, but even if they don't, they just have the one, they get the benefit of an attorney that has experience on a more national scale. I became an attorney because I am an immigrant, and early on, I was helping my folks fill out paperwork, and I realized people get paid for this. When you help people understand paperwork and then fill it out for them, that's an entire career. It's called law or transactional law, at least. And so I went to law school and I decided to work in wills and trusts and probate because my own mom got sick when I was very young, and we didn't know who we could trust. We didn't know who could give us good advice about preparing for death. So when I went to work for an attorney who did this, I so respected the way he was able to relieve some of the grief by helping educate people and represent them in just really vulnerable times. That's what I try to do now for my clients.
Love that. Yeah, I can't imagine doing what you do. I'm sure you're assisting clients is either when somebody's being born or being passes away. So that's got to be really tough.
Yep. Life events are what we specialize in. That's right. Folks come to see us when they're considering having kids or they have minor children and they realize that they want to protect them, or when they're preparing for the passing of an older person. Yep.
Oh man, gosh. Okay, so let's just get into it. So this isn't going to be a normal interview. We're going to be talking about exactly how you need to protect your own assets.
Yeah.
So let's get started. Tell us, just from an individual standpoint, even without touching the business side, what exactly do we need? Like, we all hear like, oh, we need a will, you got to do this. So tell us, lay it all out for us.
The good news is if you are going to go see your estate planning attorney with your spouse, or if you're a single person by yourself, your estate planning attorney can help you in regards to your business as well. Your business is simply going to be treated as an asset. So when you sit down with your estate planning attorney, they're generally going to give you a group of documents, and they might call it a package. And these documents are to keep you and your assets safe if you lose mental capacity or you pass away. Let's start with the big one. The biggest one that they're probably going to recommend to you is called a revocable trust. A revocable trust is a document that multiple states use to avoid probate. And a lot of my clients say, isn't probate just a court process? And isn't that probably something I want because it's fair, it's open, it's public, it's maybe something I want to avail myself of? And although all those things are true, probate can also be very cumbersome, very expensive. The publicity of and the public aspect is not always beneficial. And so sometimes we want to avoid probate for those reasons. That is definitely the case in some states more than others. So avoiding probate in California is very important to most of my clients.
Yeah.
There are some states I've heard in like Georgia, probate is not a big deal. So, you definitely want to get advice from your local counsel. But for my Florida and California clients, we do like to avoid probate usually. If your assets exceed $166,000 in California, that's the threshold we say they would go to probate normally. And so if your assets exceed that, and liabilities are not taken into account here, folks. So sometimes people say, oh, you subtract my mortgage. No, we don't subtract anything from your fair market value of all your assets.
That's really good to know. So, I mean, essentially, if you own a house, then you're going to probate.
That's it. If you own a house, and certainly, your business valuation is taken into account here, etc. So this document, the revocable trust, is the biggie. And for some of my clients, I tell them that a revocable trust is similar to a company. It's a legal entity. We open it with some documents, and then we place assets inside of it so that the entity will carry on if you lose capacity. It will survive your mortality. Get it? Like a company. And my business owners are some of my best clients because they realize this. They're like, oh, yes, I see that. I see how this legal entity will survive me because it is not a human. It's like a company. So the revocable living trust is the document that says who is going to manage your assets if you lose capacity or pass away. And you were going to do this management during your life. And that role while you're managing is called trustee. You are the trustee during your life and during your health. If you lose capacity or if you pass away, you're going to nominate a successor trustee. That's, the next manager in line. Sometimes I even say this is like a banker role. This is the person who's going to make financial decisions. One of the things you have to take into account if you're a business owner while you're doing your revocable trust is if your business is one that you have to have a special license for. So Andrea, that's us.
Yeah.
That's us, right? We have our legal license, or if you're a dentist, or if you're a doctor, or if you generally had to take some sort of exam.
Yeah. If you have letters behind your name.
There you go. Then you should have something called a special trustee in your revocable living trust. And that means that you are giving your trustee permission to appoint somebody to run your business, because there's a very good chance that in your state, your business can only be run by people with the same letters behind your name or their name. So, I tell clients I can't discuss clients' personal information, but I can tell you all about my personal information. So I will say my brother-in-law is also a JD. He is my special trustee in case something happens to me. He can come into my office, take over my files, work with my staff, and manage my business if something happens to me. So that's one of the big things you want to make sure if you're a business owner, you want to make a provision for a special trustee in your revocable trust. There are going to be other provisions in your revocable trust that you make in regards to your minor children, in regards to your charitable intent. All of those things can stay the same, just as if you were not a business owner, if you were a typical employee or a retiree, those things can remain the same. But one unique provision is, like I said, this special trustee. And then, because we don't have time to dwell on this forever, the other document that we often use in estate planning and is a crucial part of your estate plan package is your will. Now, if you have a revocable living trust, your will is a special type of will called a pour over will. And it's literally the verb pour, P-O-U-R, pour over. And it's built-in redundancy. This is where my IT clients say to me, oh, we know about redundancy. It's a fail-safe, yeah? So
Gotcha.
a fail-safe meaning we don't think we're going to need to use this document, and we certainly don't want to, because I'm going to tell you something even my fellow attorneys don't know. A will does not avoid probate. But a pour-over will help you either shorten the process or avoid it by saying, you know what, Your Honor, don't take me through a full probate. Instead, pour my assets into the trust. And and carry on with that plan. I have a plan. I'm coordinating it. Stick to the plan that I have in my trust.
Love it. Oh my gosh. I'm just like sitting here, just like taking it all in. I am ashamed to say this, but I have nothing. And so I have no estate planning documents, but you better believe like I'm getting my butt in gear because it's always been something on my mind. And part of it was just like, oh, we're not done having kids, but now we are done having kids. We have 2 little ones. So I know that we have to get stuff in line. So this is definitely something that me and my husband are going to be pursuing very, very soon, just because like I tell clients and I tell you on the podcast all the time, you never know what's going to happen. And you have to make sure that protection is in place. So I have to practice what I preach. So trust me, you need to get on all of these documents. I'm getting on all these documents. We can all do this together.
Yes. So speaking about you, Andrea, you're super young. And we do not necessarily plan for death when we're this young. But even for my young folks, I say, even if you don't pass away, there is a possibility you're going to have a medical event. So the other documents in your estate plan provide for the possibility of a medical event. And they provide for what happens if you're just unavailable. You're alive. There's no death certificate that triggers your will or your successor trustee acting, but you have lost mental capacity. Who has the right to manage your business during that time? Now, the first document that we're going to discuss during your incapacity would be your durable power of attorney. Your durable power of attorney is a document that says that somebody else has the right to file your taxes, because you know that Uncle Sam still gets his, even if you're in a coma. When I tell this to my clients, they're like, oh yeah, that's right.
Gosh, that Uncle Sam, he's always out to get a buck from us.
Well, yeah. And you still got to file your taxes, even if you're in a coma. And did you know nobody has the right to sign off on your taxes other than your agent under your durable power of attorney document? So,
wow.
Yeah, the truth is it's not even your spouse. Your spouse can't legally be signing your tax return. They can sign for themselves, but they can't sign for you unless you've given them power of attorney. Similarly, for your business, you need a durable power of attorney to deal with the possibility of moving assets in and out of your business, the possibility of signing, like I said, those tax returns, but also other decisions that need to be made in regards to your business. Some of my clients, I've even had to tell them, look, if something happens to you, who's paying your employees? A lot of my business owners are like, I've done so well for myself. My business is running without me. And I say, that's true. But you know what else still needs to happen is your employees need to get paid.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's like, that's almost giving me like a heartache.
No, I don't, this is when we know better, we do better. Yeah. So this is part of knowing better. So the durable power of attorney has to do with incapacity, but it has to do with the financial and the tax aspect. One of the elements of being a business owner that we're going to discuss next is just the physical toll it takes on us.
Let me ask you one question real quick. So talking about like when somebody is taking over our business, if we've lost capacity, is there a document we should have like for them, or is that in the trust, or is that in the documents So I have an attorney who we've discussed like, hey, if something happens to me, like, can you be my person? And she, like, we've talked about it being each other's person. Luckily, she's a trademark attorney, so we've talked about it. But at the end of the day, we've only talked about being each other's person. We haven't talked about what exactly will happen if one of us passes away or if we become incapacitated. So, like, where does that come up? What happens?
Yeah. Yeah, you could certainly have a business succession plan where you talk about how you want the business to carry on, and that these are the instructions that you would leave. They do not necessarily have to have the legal formality that these other documents we discussed, part of your estate plan, have to be, because you're not leaving instructions as to who that person will be, but simply when that person takes over, this is how I want them to continue running my business. Or, as the case may be, I don't want them to continue running my business. I want them to liquidate and
Gotcha.
just really pad the fund for my children to live off of. So you certainly should have those, and they're simply instructions, and we're pretty good at written instructions if you're running your own business. But if you don't leave instructions, then more than likely, most of my clients in both states, I've seen their successors are going to be prone to liquidate.
Yeah.
So if you want instructions on how to do that to the best result, or how to do that for the benefit of your employees, then yeah, you should leave written instructions. This also brings to mind that if you have a co-owner of your business or a partner, then you should have some sort of buy-sell agreement in place.
Yeah. Can you explain more about that?
Yeah. So a buy-sell agreement says if something happens to one of us, then the partner who survives has the right to buy out my portion. And it's not always half and half. We think of partners being half and half, but they may not be. So that's why I say my portion, leaving it open to whatever that portion is. The reason for this is that your partner, I can assure you, does not want to run your business with your surviving spouse or your kids, and neither do they. Your family is going to want to be able to grieve and to conduct their personal lives the way that they need to if something happens to you. So we want your partner for the business to have the right to buy out your spouse or your children. And that can be provided a number of ways. We can purchase a life insurance policy that says, if I pass, my partner is going to use this life insurance policy to buy out my portion of the business, basically give my surviving spouse cash. Or it could be that my partner is going to get this business valued, and then they're going to have a certain period of time within which to buy out my spouse. Or there are a number of ways this could be done, but the point is to do it. There's a lot of room here to be creative, and it depends on your industry. And are you selling widgets, or are you doing a service-oriented industry, or what is it that you guys are working as partners? This is especially important if your partnership is one where one of you specializes in a particular trade and the other one manages let's say the administrative aspect of the business or whatever. So if you both can't do both parts, this is also important. Are you going to be paying to hire somebody to run your specialties for your partner to be able to continue the business?
Gosh, so much to think about here.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I feel like I'm getting a taste of my own medicine because I get people tell me all the time, oh my gosh, I'm getting heartache, or I know I need to get this done. And right now I'm not like, that's me. Like, so don't worry, people, if you have hated me at one time for kind of like putting a fire in you or making you be like, oh my God, I gotta get this done. Like, trust me, that is me right now, getting a taste of my own medicine.
That's okay, because you know what I will say is a lot of times I have clients come in and they're really nervous, but they actually feel a direct correlation of peace afterwards. So I think that subconsciously we're all concerned about this, and then we can translate that into a conscious, peaceful feeling once it gets done. But the very last document I wanted to talk about is your healthcare directive.
Yeah.
And this one is again dealing with your physical body. So as business owners, we're aware that it takes a lot out of us to make decisions. A lot of us that are professionals mostly use our brain, but we also use our body to have meetings, make decisions, sign off on things, etc. And if you can't do that because you're somehow incapacitated or unable to communicate, many people think that your spouse will just automatically step in and be able to speak as to your physical care. But the truth is that might be so, or it might not. Here I'm reminded of the story of Terry Schiavo. Terry Schiavo was a young woman, early 40s, I believe, and her case took place in Florida when I was there. She was incapacitated, and her husband said, she wouldn't want to live like this. Let's pull the plug. And her parents said, oh, no, we are Catholic and life is life, and we want to preserve her life no matter what. And besides, husband, you are the beneficiary of a $1 million life policy. So they're thinking, you have some conflict of interest as to why you want to let her go. The point is that they had to get the courts involved. And so it turned into this huge media circus where the local courts had to opine as to whether or not she would want to have her life carry on in a vegetative state or wouldn't. And that level of publicity in a very vulnerable, medically unstable state is just disheartening to a lot of folks to think that that would happen. And as a business owner, you are very preserving of your reputation, your identity. You'd hate to think that that could be lost because your family couldn't decide or the hospital wouldn't obey what your family was saying.
Right. Or like I feel like in my head I keep thinking about there's business owners that have a successful business, but then they pass away unexpectedly and they didn't take care of their estate before they passed away. So now it's a huge mess. And, the business loses all of its value because they're gone, or all the money that they had was spent on legal fees. So, oh man, yeah, I have to go get this done.
Yeah. So it's an investment. You're totally right. This will cost money to get it done, but it's an investment in protection of your physical body and your financial assets and your children, whether they be minors or adults. And it's a preservation of your business and your employees. A lot of business owners are very thoughtful people who are also aware that it's not just for them and their family, it's also for their employees to be able to move on. And if you need that to be done in a very smooth fashion, then an estate plan will help.
Gotcha. Yeah. So with all this estate planning stuff, so can you estimate the cost without even the business side of things? So let's say you're just an individual, no business. Can you estimate the cost of getting these documents prepared and then also add in the business side of things?
So commonly, very much depending on what region of the country.
It depends.
Yeah. Depending on what region of the country you're in and who you're going to work with and the value of your estate. Very much depends on the value of your estate. But if your assets are under the federal estate tax, which is the 22 million mark for you and your spouse, then you could probably get a revocable trust with pour over will, healthcare directive, and joint power of attorney, and all of the package like that for under the 3,000, 4,000 mark.
Oh, that's a lot better than I was thinking.
Yes. So that's, just a really basic plan. You could probably get it done for under the 4,000 mark. Some attorneys are more high end and they might charge more, and you are welcome to use them. Sometimes they offer continual services and they'll just charge for that up front. You can shop around. But that's sort of me averaging out an entire nation.
Right.
That is not necessarily downtown LA market, but that's,
yeah.
If I take my Florida and my California clients and I average them out, that's about where you're at. If we're doing some additional planning for your business, like a buy-sell agreement or some other provisions dealing with your business partners or anything like that, then, you should add some additional value to that.
Okay. Are we talking like 1,000, 2,000?
Probably another 1,500, 2,000 per additional agreement.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Awesome. Man. Okay. So if you're a business owner, then you're probably looking at about $5,000, maybe $6,000, but definitely an investment, something that has to get done because you never know what's going to happen. And this is just, number one, it's just part of being a person because you need these things whether you're a business owner or not. But once you become a business owner, you have that added layer of things that you're responsible for. So like I've said before, like once you're a business owner, you are held to a higher standard than your normal individual. So being a business owner, you have to make sure you are holding up your end of the bargain. And especially when you have employees, you have to make sure they're taken care of. And that's one of the things that I love about being in my position as a business owner is like I get to provide a living for people. Like that is something that I feel is an honor and I love doing that, but it's also a lot of responsibility because what if something happens like COVID and your business gets shut down and you can't pay your employees? I don't think there will always be an unemployment benefit going around when something like COVID happens. But anyways, no, when you're a business owner, you're held to a higher standard and you just have to make sure all these extra things are taken care of, even more than when you're an individual. So that's something that I have been lacking on, but I'm going to get it done. And I will report back, you guys, whenever I do actually get this done, because now like this is something that has fired me up and I know, okay, this has to get done ASAP. So any other words of wisdom you want to leave us with?
This is certainly not a total explanation. We purposely kept it brief.
Yes, absolutely.
If you go speak to your own estate planning attorney and they were like, oh, did she explain that there should be funding and there should be these additional items? I did not. So I just want you to know we did not address everything. There are some additional things that need to get done and you can discuss on if you're going to do them as a business owner or if you want your estate planning attorney to do them. And if you do want to have her do them for you, then she might charge you extra for those skills or time. You really want to work with somebody who understands your business and who will be able to protect it in the way that you are giving to it and devoting yourself to it right now. Recently, we've also been advising business owners as to how to pay out to the estate of deceased employees. So this is just a tip. If you are a business owner and you're wondering, who do I write the check to? Check in with your estate planning attorney. They will be able to advise you on that aspect. It's a very small aspect of employment law that we happen to know. Otherwise, we stay in our lane. Yeah. We stay in our lane and we do not advise on employment law otherwise. But as far as if you do have an employee that has passed away and you owe them some benefits or you owe them a check, then check with your estate planning attorney. She'll probably be able to advise you on how to do that with the least liability.
Perfect. That's awesome. That's another good point that I didn't even think about. So if you are in California or Florida, definitely hit up Ella because she will hook you up when it comes to estate planning. And this is something that must be handled by a local attorney. So the predominant portion of my practice is federal. So trademarks are a federal matter. I can help clients nationwide. Estate planning is not something that's federal. It is very state dependent. That means the laws are different in every single state. So you will have to find somebody local to your state. If you're in California or Florida, definitely hit up Ella. If you need a recommendation to another state, let me know. I will try to find somebody for you. But I will not do it for you. You don't want me to do it for you. So definitely look up a local attorney. If you need a recommendation, let me know and I will find somebody local to you. Well, Ella, thank you so much. And let us know where we can find you online.
Yes, I'm at ellagentile.com.
Awesome. So yes, make sure you screenshot this episode, tag us both on Instagram. Everything will be linked in the show notes. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
If you found this information helpful, I would be so grateful if you could share it with a fellow business owner. And it doesn't cost anything to rate, review, or subscribe to the show. Your support helps me reach more listeners, which allows me to support more business owners in their entrepreneurial journey. I'll see you next episode.